Welcome, everyone. We're excited to help you take control of your Cisco investments. Um, talking with today with Cisco, and you got myself, Craig Williams. I'm Marco's lifecycle management consultant, and we have Chad Morton from Cisco on as well. Today, we're going to take a look at how we can unlock some strategic alignment through Cisco's enterprise agreements, and then also when you pair that with Marco's lifecycle management program, how does that help you out? A little bit of about our agenda. We're going to kind of go through some of the things here that we have with the 101 and the evolution of the enterprise agreement. What's the financial impact, some operational excellence, and then some partner success story on that as well. As I said, you have Chad Morton, who is our software buying and programs service specialist at Cisco, and I'm Craig Williams. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. If you have any questions throughout this, feel free to ask throughout that. I'm going to start us off here and go with it. Chad, can you kind of give us a little bit about your background, a little bit about where you are at Cisco, and what does your title of software buying and program service specialist, what does that mean?
It encompasses a lot, doesn't it? Well, first
It
off, let me
does.
just say thank you guys for asking me to join today. I'm very excited to speak with you, as well as just to have a chance to be in front of your team, customers as well. So yes, my name is Chad Morton. I'm down here in South Florida is where I reside. I've been here at Cisco for, we'll just say, over a decade. It's been some time now, which is a wonderful thing and giving us a chance to see things grow and develop and evolve. And that's what we continue to do with our buying program. So yes, what does the title actually mean? Well, it gives us an opportunity to focus on an area of where we are spending a lot of time and energy here at Cisco and with our partners and our customers, and that is driving software and services. I don't know if anybody has paid attention lately, but Cisco is quickly become a software company with over half of our revenue coming from software. So sitting in this seat is a very good place to be right now, working with partners like yourself, but really looking to help customers understand what Cisco can do to help them with their software challenges as well as with their services, because everybody understands how important services are to our hardware, to our contracts, and to many of the different aspects of the business out there. So having a chance to talk with, like I said, partners, yourself, even customers, our extended teams, all around how these buying programs can help their business and bring additional value is really what I like to do all day long. So this was a perfect setup. And again, appreciate you inviting us in.
Excellent. I think one of the big questions that I hear quite a bit, Chad, is, what does it mean? What is the term Cisco Enterprise Agreement mean? I have some people that have come to me that have, a little misconception. Am I buying my hardware through it? Am I only buying software? What can I get with an EA? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
I would love to, absolutely. And you did, you called it an EA. So that's what we will call it. You'll hear us often reference the enterprise agreement as the EA, as that single contract agreement to help you as the customers simplify your contract management with Cisco. And yes, it can be complicated when we are working with a company like Cisco sometimes. We do a great job of changing things and hopefully getting that information out to our customers. But when it comes to procuring our hardware or working with our software and our lifecycle teams, right, definitely can be tricky. And that's where a buying program such as an enterprise agreement comes in to simplify that for the customer. So what this is, it's a single contract offer. So typically when you are buying some hardware, you're going to be buying software with it, and as well as licensing and services. And that's where we have an opportunity to bundle those contracts, those licenses together into a single contract agreement, one date, one coterm, one term, one agreement, all bundled together to bring you, the customer, that ease of value, or that maximized value and that ease of management, I should say, to manage that contract itself. So there's a number of different suites and portfolios that we'd be more than happy to talk to you guys through. We'll keep it high level today as to what that EA is, what it looks like, the construct, and how you can take some benefits from it as well.
No, that's great, Chad. I appreciate that. And you talked about the ease of it, and let's talk about costs. What does it help with the financial predictability and budgeting when it comes to having an EA? I know that in my role as Lifecycle, it does that. That's kind of what we do is we sit down and we talk with our customers, and it's an ongoing conversation. And realistically, what I do is it's customer experience. How are they able to do it? And I like to say there's no surprises. Um,
Right.
can you kind of like talk about the cost of what that means? Is there something that they're going to save on this, or is it, hey, we're just trying to make
Yes.
it easier for you to have, one throat to choke, basically.
Exactly, exactly. And we know how that can go. And cost is always top of mind for our customers, especially as we looked for, as you mentioned, financial predictability. We don't know how things are going to go. I'm just talking individually in life, right? But we look forward and we like to try and map that out as best we can to understand what scenarios we're faced with and how things might go and be able to be in the best position to adjust to that. That's a big key to success in anywhere, any capacity. So cost with EAs is exactly that. It gives you that financial predictability to understand what you're going to pay today and what you're going to pay in the next 3 to 5 years. So the way these agreements are structured is there is a minimum, right? And that minimum for this contract agreement is $100,000 total contract value. Now that can be spread out again across that 3 year or that 5 year agreement. And that sticker shock can be a lot up front, but once we break that down to understand an annualized cost even, and again, project that over the course of time, that savings becomes apparent. And that's a savings that you can work back into the business to reinvest in different capacity as well, but also allow for the opportunity for growth, which is a big benefit of the EA is yes, you have your cost predictability, you have your simplification for the contract engine itself, right? Bringing all this into one agreement, but it's also understanding that, hey, I know where I'm going to be and I have the ability to grow within this agreement, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. But yes, the savings is a big piece. I think any of us, as we look around in different capacities, different avenues, right? We see different service providers, if you would, offering a similar type of construct. And the Cisco Enterprise Agreement is not new. It's been around for quite some time. I think we're just now starting to see it in different aspects, whether it's our cable packages or wherever it may be, right? It's giving customers that cost predictability, that financial understanding of where they're going to be not only today but in the years ahead, knowing that cost won't increase is, I think, the big piece of it.
That's great, and I appreciate you saying that because that's kind of the same story that we like to share with our customers when we talk about it. Is that exact terminology is how you said it. Um, one of the things that I like to I get asked, and what I would like to ask you on that is what why right now? What is so great about going to it right now for organizations to reevaluate how they are consuming Cisco technology? What makes right now the right time to do an EA?
It's a big question, and there's a lot of different places my mind wants to go with this answer. But why right now? I think the biggest indicator that I can point to, right, is there's a big motion within the industry. Again, we've talked about the benefits, but what you're seeing is ultimately moving from an a la carte option of buying licenses when I need them, where I need them, adding contracts, adding code terms, things like that, right? That a la carte motion is becoming a lot to manage for customers, for partners, everything. So moving into a buying program now, again, brings the value of that enterprise agreement, of that EA front and center to, again, simplify the management of it, understand where I'm going to be paying now and into the future. It's giving me that ability to grow, as we mentioned as well. And it helps simplify just the go-to-market strategy. And there's a lot of other additional benefits coming into this as we haven't even gotten into is some how these contracts are managed and how simplified that looks. But Cisco is in a big shift right now. If you guys haven't noticed, the whole world is shifting around AI and how we work, right? A big focus area for us is around digital resiliency as well, and future proof workspaces. And right now, those buying programs are that lead engine that is going to help move into that next era of how we do business together here at Cisco with our partners and through ultimately our customers.
Very good. No, that's great. Yeah, you talked about some of the big shift. I know Cisco Live was just, a week and a half ago, a week ago. And what were some of the things for maybe some of the people that weren't able to join? What are some of the things that were brought up about EAs or even just kind of touched upon about enterprise agreements
Sure.
that might be new for Cisco or something that's going to be enhanced on that maybe
Sure.
was announced?
Cisco Live was a great event. Really just seeing the power of it, seeing all of our different resources brought together, and also just a roadmap of what's to come, right? It's always exciting to get a peek behind that curtain and understand kind of where we might be in a year ahead or a couple years from now and how we're all going to work together. So Cisco Live gives us a great preview into that world. But there's also a lot of takeaways. We spend a whole week listening and learning and trying to understand what kind of impact that's going to have in our business and our day to day. And it can be overwhelming if you're there, if you're paying attention after the fact or what it may be. So thankfully, we've had a few debriefing sessions that I've done my best to take some notes on along the way. So from Cisco Live, if you didn't quite make it out there, you haven't had a chance to listen in, Chuck and team, G2, they announced some pretty exciting things, mostly around the innovations we're making with AI. In a lot of different aspects, AI is going to be integrated into the way we do business together. And I think there's a lot to speak on that. We could probably spend another half hour in general. I may not be your best resource to talk about all of that, but that was a big piece of it. The other part was how security is being embedded into the network, embedded into AI, and how we're making these modern networks more secure, but also capable of handling the AI workload that's coming with it. And I'm very glad we didn't play the AI buzzword drinking game because we would be way past our limits here already, Greg. So another time for that one at the hockey rink, maybe. But we also
Absolutely.
talked about simplification. That's a big focus right now is how we simplify things. And I think that's where the EA news might get lost in the shuffle sometimes, right? And what I mean by that is there's been constant innovation this year at Cisco. Things are constantly evolving. Every time Craig and I talk, there's something new that we need to adjust and make sure that we have our focus in the sights, right? And maybe it was a month ago, maybe it was 2 months ago at this point, and things start to blend together. But we announced some changes within additional value of the enterprise agreement itself, specifically around customer success and around premium services. So we offered two new opportunities, buying program methods for our customers to take advantage of. The first one I'll highlight is the CXEA, right? The Customer Success EA. This is a chance for you guys to, again, take all those contracts that are out there for what we used to call SmartNet. We'll touch on that momentarily. Take all those contracts that are going to be associated with your hardware, with your licensing, with your software, and bundle that into the enterprise agreement as well. Again, simplifying the number of contracts we have to manage, the co-term dates, as well as adding an additional value to those portfolios and those suites that you're purchasing. So we did offer that CXEA out there. It's very exciting to again, just be able to look through the install base. And that's something we should talk about as well. If there's an opportunity for customers to share with you what that install base looks like, what an opportunity is for Marco to go through and offer some lifecycle services, right? So that
Absolutely.
CXEA is something we'll talk on, but we also offered for just understanding the ease of management of service contracts, a services-led EA. And we're only allowed to use so many terms here at Cisco. They all have to sound very similar, so stay with me. But that services-led EA is specific to just services, no other hardware or software licensing on there. It's just your former SmartNet, which is now going to be moved into a success track type EA, where we can bundle that all together, simplify those contracts, those co-terms into one agreement, and lock in that price as well for your services, which is very exciting. I'd love to spend some time expanding on that as well. But before we do that, Greg, I've mentioned a couple of things. I want to get your take. Just really
Mhm.
what that means in onboarding. What does it look like for a customer starting with their first Cisco EA after Marco has done a great job of positioning and helping them see that value?
Yeah, it's the onboarding is as I said before is when we when a customer purchases an EA and then they get our life cycle services with that, one of
Right.
the things that we have is we work directly with your team, and your team, we set up calls ahead of time, but what we're trying to make it is we kind of become your personal concierge as the customer. And the idea behind that is, like I said before, no surprises. We want everything to be the best customer experience throughout all of it, for not only for Cisco but for Marco as well. And so that onboarding takes place as we have, one of the Cisco onboarding reps gets on, they walk them through, hey, this is your EA. You are a brand new to Cisco EAs. We want to make sure we walk you through what they call EA workspace. How are you going to provision, hardware or software after you've provisioned that hardware? What if you're looking at, a security EA? Even better yet, one of the ones that we just did with you guys is, you're talking about the CX EA. We did one with a customer that we just did, and we went through it, and they wanted to know, are we covering everything with inside of it? Do we have all of our hardware that we had, prior that was set up just in SmartNet? Is it covered? Um, Cisco has an awesome program with it where they actually have an asset manager that comes in with that. And she would come, she sat on the call, it was fantastic. We listened to her and she's like, yeah, look right here, and showed us we were looking at maybe a wrong serial number because on some of it was like chassis serial number or with inside another portion of the of it. And then she's like, here it is. Here's all of them that are part of that. And it really opened the eyes of our customer. And they're like, hey, this was great. So part of that onboarding, kind of not to deviate because you and I could do that all day long. But what I'll
I'll
say is
keep you on track my best I can, right?
I appreciate that. But what we do is we'll start with that, get them where they're actually utilizing the software they bought. This is all about getting value for what they bought. Don't have shelfware. I don't want any kind of shelfware or any kind of vaporware that's out there. You didn't buy nothing. And then once they're getting that value, uh, I go through and with the customers that have bought with us on this, I get on calls right off the bat. We start doing monthly calls. I have a couple of them that want to do more frequent than that, but do a couple monthly calls, maybe for 6 months. We start going through it and say, hey, every month, let's get on, let's talk through your EA workspace. Let's go through and look at your consumption details. Go through it and say, do you have any questions? Can I show you anything that might not be, that might be a little hazy? I don't know what this means, or how do I didn't catch all of it because there's a lot to consume when you're on these calls, and it might be an hour call with the EA team, but they're like, hey, we got to get through as many as we can on this one. So my job then is to come back and say, hey, let's go through it. Is there something that you just don't understand, or is there, even better yet, is there something that the business priorities has changed? So now all of a sudden they're like, hey, we've gone from needing to use Cisco Identity Service Engine, ICE, to now we want to shift it to from advanced to a different level of it. And I can show how we can do a value shift with inside that, and that they didn't lose that money that they already spent.
Right.
So my job is to be the advocate for the customer. And then on top of being the advocate for the customer, I'm also showing them how they can benefit from what they bought, and there's no surprises. So when fiscal year mid-year comes up and they have to do their budget planning, they're not coming to me saying, oh my God, what do I own and what do I need to plan for next time?
Right. And I think that that advocacy and that approach to customer success is so important to making sure that, again, everybody is getting the value out of the technology, out of the solution. We call that a big focus here at Cisco is adoption, making
Yep.
sure that our customers are adopting those solutions and getting those true outcomes that they're expecting and looking for to make the ease of doing business that much simpler. So that's
Yeah.
outstanding service. And I love to hear that you guys can go into that level of detail with the customer and helping them look through even potentially that entire install base, right? And with that asset management team to understand what else is out there, where can we make simplifying this even to the next step and the next level
Yeah.
down the road. That's wonderful.
Yep. I agree, and I think that's this has been a passion of mine since coming here to Marco. I've been with Marco, going on a year and a half, and I've uh, I've seen a shift in the whole organization. Is we're not just selling you a box. We actually
Right.
do care about what our customers are doing, and it's it's nice to see that by my role being created for this, we're actually
Right.
able to help the customer. Are they getting value? Because your biggest advocate's going to be your customers that are happy, and your biggest downfall are ones that aren't. So
Well,
making sure
let's
that
let's
we're
dig into
we're doing
that,
that.
Craig. Not to interrupt you, but let's paint
Yeah,
that picture out a little bit because I think I've seen firsthand in our time working together, and I'm sure maybe some customers and some teams on the line here would like to understand a real world example of where Marco was able to maximize the value of that EA, right? From
yeah.
initial proposals or maybe looking at the a la carte management, and then from there, talk us through maybe what that looked like if you have an example top of mind.
Yeah, so like we've had a customer that was able to, if you want to just, I'm going to keep it generic because we're not going to talk
Sure.
customer names, but
Yeah.
we had a customer that was, they were able to save on their software spend by over 20% with inside that, and they limited that within the first year. They eliminated 3 separate renewal cycles. You know, much
Right.
like you were saying, putting it all onto one contract. They were able to get it down to one, going into an EA 3.0. But even more important is, you know, that now they have a clear growth or clear roadmap for, you know, their growth and innovation with inside their Cisco hemisphere. And I
Yes.
think that's a big one. And this same customer is the one that went to the most recent CXEA that we did. And I meet with them. Uh, they are, we like to call it high touch, but it's because I enjoy talking with them. They really thrive on energy, and I like to give them good energy on it too. And they thrive on the information that I give them.
Yeah.
I meet with their entire team once to twice a month, and we talk and we go through what they have. They actually were benefited. They were able to go to Cisco Live, and we talked through it, and they had a blast. I was out at Cisco Live with them last year. Great team. They were able to take what our rep came to them and said, "Hey, you guys have such a complex, you know, smart net environment. Let's go and put it all into one. Let's just take it and put it into an EA." And
Yes.
by doing that, they were able to like. It took a little bit of understanding and talks with the asset manager, but once they got in and they started understanding, they're like, "Oh my God, this is so much nicer." We now have one place. We have one bill to send instead of, okay, we need to buy, you know, 6 more switches. So you buy switches, and then you have another, you know, SmartNet account that you have, or another SmartNet bill that you have that's coming in on that
Yes.
one. And you can do co-terming and things like that. But this one puts it all on one. I send the serial number over to the asset manager, and she just adds it to that EA,
Right.
and
And the
it's
way that
that
works
easy.
for those listening is we have a really an industry best program that we call True Forwarding, right? That's a an annual true up of those licenses within that growth capacity. So it allows you 15% growth on those contracts, on those licenses in term, not having to pay for that until that next billing annual true up cycle. So
How does that work though,
true.
Chad? Can you kind of explain that? So let's use I don't know, let's use Duo. Duo is multi-factor authentication software that people can have with inside it. So let's say I
Sure.
have, and I'm trying to keep this easy. So a
Round
hundred copies.
numbers.
Yeah, a hundred copies. I need to. I just hire. I hired 10 people. Can I
Yep.
just add those 10, and then do I worry about having to like purchase 10 right then? I mean, if we have 10
That's
people
it.
growth, it just, yeah, you
Yeah.
just add them. That's
We're
what I
going to
like
provision
about it.
them.
Yep.
That's exactly it. We're going to go in and we're going to provision 10 more users, and we're going to give them the access they need to that additional security, that multi-factor authentication, and business is going to keep rolling. And you don't have to worry about paying for that growth allowance until you know when that next true forward cycle is,
Yep.
right? You are aware of when we're going to go back and review those contracts and say, hey, now those 10 new hires we have on there, we're going to roll those into, and that's going to be X cost for the next billing. So it's very, very predictable of when those cycles will come, and allows you, again, that opportunity to grow within the term. But I don't want to gloss over something that you touched on, right? And it was around, first off, that energy that starts building as we talk about this stuff, and the
Mhm.
CXEA, right? When we introduced that, there was definitely some excitement, not only on the Marco side, but also with, like as you mentioned, within the customers, very eager to simplify their process and their ability. But it was more than that. There's additional value being received here by that customer. Because when we move to a CXEA, right, customer success, that's just our shorthand for it, CX, or a services led where we're just
Mhm.
tying in the services, we're moving from a standard SmartNet total care contract into a premium service offering. And yes, sometimes there can be a price uplift in there, but the value and the savings and the ease of management, the gain is tenfold. So yes, there is a slight a lift from a standard service into a premium service, but with that comes a lot more in that CXEA or that premium services led EA. And just to give you an idea what that means, right? Part of that is faster response time. With a standard SmartNet contract, you're getting 60 minutes. With the premium service, that cuts down to 30. And it also gives you a ton of additional resources and benefits to tap into from the customer side, but can also tie right into Marco's Lifecycle program. So those premium services are absolutely something that need to be considered. And for the customers that may not have heard, right, you will see a lot more of the word success tracks, the term success tracks, as SmartNet has been sunsetted after 35, 40 plus years almost. So at Cisco, innovation, evolution, it's nonstop. And now SmartNet is being folded into that mix as well and being brought up to the level of success tracks.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's
Oh,
great. Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Dragon Jack, can I just stop in real quick? We had a
Sure.
question
Yeah,
that came up, and I sort of wanted to butt
yeah,
in so
please,
you could
Yeah.
answer
please
it because
do.
it was relevant. So the example that you gave with the duo licenses that someone like if they purchased 100 and then they added 10, can you also drop it? So like if something happens, they didn't grow and then they go backwards. Is that a possibility? It was a great question, so I figured I'd ask. So
So
There's
I
a
can answer a little bit on my side, and I'll. So you can't remove software, but one of the things is if they are not provisioned. So if you, and Chad, keep me honest on this one because I know that
you're on the
this
right
is kind
path
of your,
already.
if it's not provisioned and we need to do a value shift later. So let's say it's within, and I'm going to use,
Security.
I'm going to use security. So if you do it with inside the security suite, if we want to shift and utilize something different in it, the monies that were spent that were left over. So let's say it's 100,000 EA, you've spent 20,000 of it because it's a 5-year loan. So you now have um, 80,000 left of that 100,000. If that, let's say each one of those licenses were $100, you take that 20% off of that, that money then is prorated across the rest of the EA at that true up. When you do that value shift, that money will actually go towards. So I'm just going to use round numbers, but if there was $100 left over and you buy something that had $200 that was for $200, you're only spending $100 on it. Is that a correct assessment on that, Chad?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
And I know
highlighting
it's
that
very,
value
yeah,
shift.
that's to say that's very high level and elementary speaking, but that's kind of how a value shift works. But to the point though, Kim, you cannot you can't go backwards
Right.
on the EA.
but they
We
do
will
have
find.
options that you mentioned. Yes, so
Right.
that's the best to come talk to y'all, right? That
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, yeah, and that was one of the things I wanted to highlight is, as Chad, as you were talking, um, yeah, Marco, we don't just sell an EA. I mean, like I said, we can sell boxes all day long. Um, we help you, activate your entitlements. We, track consumption. We, optimize renewals and forecast for future needs. It's kind of funny. And this is with the AI talk, it's kind of like having a dedicated EA co-pilot. And so it's one of those type things. So when our customers want to have kind of an extra headcount without having to go out and hire another headcount, somebody that knows EA, they buy from an EA from Marco and they get me or somebody from my team that then becomes their dedicated concierge that helps walk them through it.
To help manage, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
Because I get that's my emails and my phone rings every day about, hey, what do I do with this? Or hey, I've got, I've been doing this for 30 plus years and that's one of the things they come back are like, Craig, you've kind of seen it all. How do I do this?
right, and I think you're touching on it, but just to clarify, right, that review happens annually or certain points of time with you and your
Yeah.
customers. So I'm guessing I'm just saying, how do you help your clients plan for that growth? How do you help them
Yeah.
plan for what's to come? And it's through those processes that you're describing, right?
100%. Yeah. So that's kind of part of it. So when they get into our premium offering of lifecycle management, of lifecycle services, they're going to come in and part of that is they are getting my time or somebody from my team, the lifecycle management team's time to actually sit with them, do that planning. Let's talk about, your budget's coming up in 6 months. I know you guys got to put budgets together. So what does that mean? Are you guys looking to add an office? If you're at an office, hey, we got to look at the software behind what you have for, do you have a firewall? Do you do it? And it's not just myself, but I'm able to pull into the conversation. Hey, we probably need to get your account manager. We probably need to get, our Cisco account manager too, because if we're going to need to look and see if there's any lead times on hardware, we gotta do that. So this is a whole ecosystem that we've built here at Marco around Lifecycle. It took a village to raise this child. So
I love to hear that though. It's impressive because we've been working together a little while now,
yeah,
and seeing that growth and that development and that continued focus on understanding the value that we can bring to the customer when we work together, Cisco and Marco and that customer as well, right? To understand, hey, how can we optimize this process? What can
yeah,
we do to help make managing this more simple, to get the most out of these solutions, to truly adopt and make sure the users are enjoying that as well. And I think that's the big piece of what
I
we're
agree.
trying to aim for together.
I agree. No, that's exactly, and it's kind of funny as it seems counterintuitive, but with us doing sales and we sell things to our customers, my goal is how can I get you to you're going to spend your money. Are you spending your money on the right things?
Mhm.
I want to, if I can help you save some money by getting you to spend money over here, that's the idea. Um, because we're all in business to make money, obviously, but I'm also in business to make sure our customers are getting the right things and doing the right things that they need. How is it going to make them profitable?
Yeah, well, that just means the world in a day where it's so difficult to trust anything, whether it's the people selling something wherever it may be, right? It's a difficult process to gain that trust. But when Marco is very transparent, but not only that, and proactive, leaning into these motions and making it very clear what to the expectations can be for that customer, I think that instantly builds the trust, at least from the vendor side where I see, and I absolutely love to see a partner establish those life cycle motions and putting first what that customer is going to get out of this and how it's going to simplify their life. So I think that goes a long way, and it's great to hear. And I did have a question that came through with all that,
Yep.
and it was more wrong. What if somebody is listening today that might be unsure of the EA is right for them? Any input there? I have some thoughts, but just curious. Again,
Yeah.
if you're wondering, is this a good fit? What would you say to do next?
So the next thing I would say to do that is, if you're even if you're not in a Cisco hemisphere of you have other providers that are out there, and you think, man, can we really save money, or can I make this simplified? Um, talk to your Marco rep, talk to your Cisco rep, and we can team with each other and come in and say, hey, okay, you've got XYZ firewall, you've got these other types of routers and switches, and oh, you may not have any kind of multi-factor authentication. How can we make you the most secure and help you benefit the best out of it? So once we get through that, and to try to find out, is the EA right for you? You know, we've come into a couple of our customers that, and kind of the bailiwick of where Marco is that SMB market. So the small and medium business market is kind of a lot of where our customers sit, and there's a lot of fear. Hey, I got to spend $100,000. I don't think I can do it. And you said it earlier, Chad, is you know where it looks like you're spending $100,000, if we could spread that out across 3, 5, 7 years, or however we need to do it, all of a sudden this is more palatable. And
Absolutely.
that's where our customers are coming back to us saying, oh, I didn't realize I could do that across 5 years. And all of a sudden now I'm only spending $20,000. I was going to do that anyway because
Anyways,
yeah.
anyways.
So that's something that we look at. So when we talk with our customers, we have a great pre-sales and sales team, and they sit down and they're talking with the customers, and they come back and say, "Hey, what is what is it that I'm trying to solve for? What am I trying to help you do?" And there might be a financial burden, there might be actually a technology gap that they need to fill, and then they come back and they say, "Hey, Craig, can you get on with our team?" And help, and because I cover all the way. Generally, it's post sales. I like to say cradle to renewal, but I will get on and help our. I hate to say cradle to grave because that
I
means
know what you mean.
that's where it stops, is at grave. So it's cradle to renewal for me. But what I like to do is I can get on pre-sales and before we sell anything, and help the customer understand. Hey, maybe if we'll start talking, and kind of deviate a little bit here, but maybe a Meraki EA is not the way to go. But there are other options that are out there. Have you thought about a Meraki subscription? Just do a subscription services through it, and that's where we can help add value, and it's that doesn't mean that our life cycle is only for EAs. Our life cycle spans well across that. But for the essence of today, it was EA.
For the value of it all, of course, there's going
Yeah,
to be an EA play, right? When we look at the big picture. But I do love
absolutely.
that you were able to kind of focus in on that aspect, right? It's not just this one aspect for Marco. There's a lot more built into it that we can drill down into and bring to the customer to add that additional piece. So, and yes, with Cisco EAs, the more we can simplify that down from that big $100,000 number down to $33,000, down to whatever it may be, to continue to work that down into an annualized cost, and it becomes, again, a lot more easier to manage from a business standpoint and plan for. So great to hear. I think that's a
Yeah.
big aspect of this whole thing.
Yeah, I know that we've got a full hour here, and we've had a question or two that come through here, but one of the things that I wanted to just say is, to those that are on the call, if you're managing a Cisco in silos, you're managing your Cisco in silos, and you're wanting to look at why this is such a mystery. Why is it so hard? That's been a commonality that I get when I'm on calls with customers is, gosh, why does it seem like it takes a PhD to understand some of it? Um, the opportunity to rethink your organization and modernize and save, I think that's where you should be able to reach out to either myself or to Chad or to your enterprise or to your account manager. You find out if it makes sense for you. I'll be flat out honest with the customer. If it doesn't make sense and what you're doing makes the best sense, we'll help you maintain that, and maybe through Lifecycle Services we can help you make that easier for you. But I'm 99% sure I can make an EA work for most customers.
And I think so too. And I think that's a good stipulation, right? It's all in how we approach the business and what we're looking to gain from it, whether it's that simplification, that predictability, whatever it may be, the better service with the premium service offering, right? There's a lot of outcomes that can be gained, and I think that's where you have the tricky task of trying to frame those up and bring all of them into one page or one view where you can truly see all that's in there. But sometimes you just don't need all of them. It's just a few things that help simplify that day to day and make management that much easier for our IT professionals.
Yeah, I think a question just came in is, can we define, it just disappeared off my screen. Can you review what software portfolios are included in the enterprise
Sure,
agreement?
sure. Craig, I don't know if we have those slides out there.
Uh,
We
do
could
you
share
have
some
them
of
on
those.
yours?
If not, I have one I can reference from my end that might make it
Go
a
ahead,
little
and
bit
if
of
you
a
want to
bit.
pull it up, yeah, if you want to pull it up on your side, I can, if I'll look on my
Sure do
side.
that. Just give me 1 second, folks, and we will get
No
that all
problem.
pulled up. And I want to go ahead and make it a little bit more visible for you. We'll do that. So when
There we
we're
go.
constructing an EA, we can make that work across multiple different portfolios, different architectures, and different suites. And this is the easy slide to understand. I will show you the difficult one next. But as you can see, we have collaboration, security, we have applications infrastructure, network infrastructure, and of course, services. But as you'll notice, security and services can be tied together across all of these. And that's because we have two different options of the enterprise agreement. We can do a full commit, where we're committing to a full suite and portfolio of all the different solutions within, say, security, for example, or we can do a partial commit. Perhaps we choose security and networking, and we do 50,000 one way and 50,000 another way, but that total contract value is still 100,000. That allows us now to have a multi-architecture enterprise agreement, and we can wrap our services in there as well. So there's a number of different ways to build this out to best suit your needs as the customer. But eventually it can look something like this, where we have all our different suites, all our different portfolios, and all the different solutions as well that fit into that and where they may go. So maybe you want something that is customized, that can fit in your Duo, your ICE, your Umbrella, but we also need some network security services, right? Or maybe we want to make sure the Meraki pieces are covered in there as well. A lot of this can be worked together to build those different levels of commits. So we do have the 5 portfolios and the multi-suites that are included within those portfolios. that allow us to customize a solution for our customers based off what their software and their services might require.
And Chad, you spoke about it, and I understand it, but for the people listening, can you
I'm
kind of
glad you do.
when you touch a little bit about full commit and partial commit and stuff like
Yeah,
that? What, because I've had customers ask me, what does it mean? And
yeah,
I know what I know what your answer will be on that one, because it's the same answer I would have on it. Can you kind of
sure.
explain what that means?
I will try and change my answer. So maybe it's keep you on your toes a little bit, but also simplify, right? Chad GPT, we'll call it.
All right.
So yes, again, simplification. We are entering into an agreement together. And that's what the EA is. It is a contract term over a period of time, right? That says we will be able to provide these services, these licensing solutions, keep it at that same price. But we've talked about I'll use this specific aspect, then not to exceed pricing, right? That's where we are committing to say, hey, this price will not go up for these licenses, these solutions over the course of this agreement. When we do a full commit, that NTE pricing is top of the line. That's the number one thing we get. When we do a partial commit, it's things like that may not be included in the EA terms. So partial commit, we are only looking for a smaller total contract value. You're not necessarily buying into everything within that suite, right? The suites are these smaller things that build into the portfolio. So we are not building out a full portfolio agreement. It is a partial portfolio, partial suite commitment versus the full commit, which is the 100K across that specific suite of solutions. So I know it's not very clear because all these terms sound very similar, but the key number is we're either going to be at 50,000 or 100,000, and we can do that as long as those contracts equal that minimum value. We can make up that total. So we're just deciding to what extent we are investing into those specific architectures.
No,
I hope I simplified that.
You said it exactly the way I would have too. So
I'm sure. I'm sure you would have run around a circle and eventually found your way down that hole, right?
Very good. I think you've explained it very well, and hopefully I did the same thing on what we are doing from a life cycle management side from Marco. Chad, you got any more questions of me?
I'm trying to think. There was a couple of things we had talked about that came up. I did want to give you 3 points for mixing in Ballywick in this conversation. That was absolutely. But we talked about the easier expansion. I think my last question really is we talked about what customers should do next. But I guess I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else I want to take this before we let you go, before I let our customers get back to it. But really, I would just say from a life cycle standpoint, where may have you seen customers really raise their hand and say, hey, I'm running into a problem today. Might this be something that you can help me manage, right? Where are some of those indicators that maybe there's a time to sit down and have this conversation with Marco around the life cycle and the customer success?
And I think a lot of that has been, it sounds cliche, but with this with the EAs that they've bought, a bunch of 2.0, and when I say 2.0,
Oh, great call out. Yes.
yeah, so they had 3 or 4 2.0 EAs, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, what are we going to do with this? Help me understand what I can do to make this easier for me to do, to manage. How can I make sure that we are getting the value? I've had 3 or 4 customers come back and say, I I assume we bought everything that we need to do,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they've got software that's been sitting there that they've spent tens of thousands of dollars on, that have been, vaporware or, shelfware type thing. And they're like, what did I spend my money on? And, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for Marco. That's not good for Cisco. That's not good for the
No.
customer. So
Agreed.
my job on those is I get in and right off the bat, let's review what you got. You might actually have everything you need. You just haven't utilized it yet. And
Absolutely.
if you do have it, what's the plans for why haven't we put it in place yet? And how can I help you be successful? So my job is not a customer success manager, but it kind of is. So how
Yeah.
can I make my
Sure.
customers successful? And when I say that, I want to sit down and make sure that first of all they're on budget. It's the old cliche of around project management. Are you on budget, on time? And
Yes.
within scope, and they're going to come back and they're going to be like, hey, we bought this and now I'm losing $50,000 off my budget because I spent this and we
Right.
never put it in. So one of the things that I do is I make sure that we go through and say, hey, you know what? Let's get it put in. Let's find out why. And they're going to say, hey, maybe we don't have the resources to do it. Fantastic. Let me help you with that.
Yes.
Marco offers some fantastic resources that maybe we can help you get it going, and then we can actually get those services or get that project started and done a lot easier. So
Sure.
that,
It,
that's kind of where we've taken it with our customers.
Well, I'm super glad that's where you started it because there are, again, enterprise agreements are not a new motion. Buying programs are not a new motion here at Cisco. We have a number of different kinds of buying program agreements that customers can enter into with our partners. And again, this is our third rendition of this. So you heard Craig mention an EA 2.0, right? That's our secondary offering before this newest model of how we transact. And that's interesting to note because that 2.0 model needs to be reviewed and transitioned to the new buying program of EA 3.0, as we call it. And the reason for that is because back then we weren't able to add in those premium services. There were additional suites and options that weren't available. So if you did already enter into an enterprise agreement, congratulations. I'm sure things have been a lot simpler for you over the course of time, but now it doesn't mean that's where it ends. I think there's still an opportunity to sit down, talk with Craig and team about that next evolution of what that next contract will look like over the next 3 to 5 years and how you can continue to get all the value that we talked about today that maybe just wasn't available back then, that may be available in the new construct as well. So yes, anybody that maybe already entered into an EA agreement, let's absolutely have that conversation.
Very good.
Hello, Miss Kim.
Hello. I was just going to tell you, I don't have any more questions. So,
Okay.
which is great. Like you answered the couple that I had come in. So, I just
Very
want to
good.
also mention too, if anyone has any last questions, please drop those into the chat and we'll get those answered as well.
Yeah. And if anybody would like to, they can definitely set up any type of call with myself and Chad at any time. Um, I will make time on my calendar for anybody.
Absolutely. And if we can help you align with our Cisco teams, let us know, let Craig know. We'll do all we can to pull in those resources and make sure that you guys, as our end customers and as our partners out there, have what you need to be successful. I think that's the number one thing.
I agree.